white cloaks in right?
Episode 4 starts out with Ishi sneaking in under the Eye of the World so that he can cast the spell to release Lanfear.
Double, toil and trouble!
I have no idea why nobody got Lanfear a tampon in the last 1,000 years, but apparently a millennia of heavy flow builds up. We cut to Moiraine's sister, who spends like 6 minutes communicating what Jamie Lee Curtis managed to pull off in about 6 seconds in Freaky Friday.
I'm old! I beg your pardon? Oh, I'm like the Crypt Keeper!
I'm not saying that the writers of this show are writing their own insecurities into it, but they did spend one of the longest scenes in the series showing this old woman as miserable and alone. The only thing missing was about a dozen cats. Alfred the butler then informs this woman that her sister is here, and considering what an absolute cow Moiraine has proven to be in this series, this is the exact facial expression I would expect. Moiraine continues to be a bitch. Rand is cleaning up the inn that he burned down when Selene comes up and invites him to her family's vacation home far off in the mountains. That's it. That's the scene. Egwene and Nynaeve talk for a minute and they hug. This face of pain, discomfort, is the exact face that I make every minute that this show is on my TV.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
The camera then cuts to Disney's live-action adaptation of Brave. Alana is teased by her family about Lan upgrading her threesome to a gangbang. And if you're one of the smarter principled people who isn't watching this garbage show, I am not kidding. This is exactly what is said.
Where does the third one go now?
Moiraine goes through her childhood bedroom, and I don't really know what to say about this scene. The events playing have neither anything resembling the books, nor anything interesting happening. It's a commentary desert. When I complain about pacing being awful, this is the bullshit I'm talking about. She finally grabs the red wine and moves on, ending up at the insane asylum where she requests to see Logain.
I should kill you where you stand.
Correct.
You tried that once?
Incorrect. That's what he would have done if Moraine's plot armor wasn't absolutely insane. But in fact, he spent a ton of time talking to her when it made no goddamn sense. All the damage that Moiraine took was as a result of Steppen's dumbass axes turning into a frag grenade.
You're the reason I'm here instead of us selling the White Tower.
1. You have no way of knowing that. 2. Are you telling me that Moiraine convinced Siuan to piss off the yellow and brown Ajas in the middle of her losing power in the tower to the Reds in order to send Logain to Cairhien? You do realize this makes Siuan being ousted as Amerlin Moraine's fault.
We can't do anything right!
We then find out that Moiraine manipulated Rand into going to the insane asylum. I feel like we're not giving this enough credit for how truly awful this writing is. You're telling me that Rand fucked off to the wilderness in order to die alone, but somehow Moiraine tracked him down with just rumors from her Eyes and Ears network, and then manipulated him with a rumor that Logain the Crazy Dragon is in a Cairhien asylum and is capable of teaching a male channeler to control his power. No fucking way. This is every bit as ludicrous as Moiraine having a tell from the end of last season. It is also amazing that this erases Rand's one singular choice that wasn't motivated by a woman who has been bullying him. Everything he does is because he's either simping for Egwene or he's allowing himself to be bullied by Moiraine. It is honestly ridiculous. Moiraine then asks Logain where Rand is staying, which explains why this super awkward bit of dialogue was stuck into the last episode. There was no reason to tell Logain where you were staying, Rand, except for this eventual conversation. When Logain rightfully tells Moiraine to fuck off, she then promises him that she will leave a knife around for him so that he can kill himself if he tells her where Rand is staying and then trains him in the One Power. I don't understand why Logain isn't making a run at Moiraine here. At worst, he gets wrapped up in the power and she continues to interrogate him. At best, he gets the knife and is able to kill her and then himself. I also don't get why he needs a knife to kill himself. He's not in a straitjacket in a padded cell. There's like 9 places he could hang himself from. He could stab himself with one of these tree branches or the wine bottle that Rand brought him. He could drown himself in a well. He could light his clothes on fire with one of these lamplights and burn himself alive. Hell, if properly motivated, he could probably climb up on one of those trees and get out into the roof and then swan dive down into the concrete. Or escape. The man is not lacking potential suicide options. We then cut to Egwene and Elaine talking. I know I should be paying attention to what they're saying, but first of all, they're women, so it doesn't matter, and more importantly, I can't stop watching them mop like this. They're walking all over the part of the floor that they've already mopped. They're gonna leave hideous footprints all over that hallway. Why bother making the effort? Women can't even clean right in this show.
What is wrong with you? I don't know.
We then cut to Lenny Kravitz and Dikembe Mutombo, who tells her how great she is and flirts with her, hinting that he would like to become her warder. Now that Lenny as a character has been adequately stroked off, we get to see Leandrin walk in and talk shit to my favorite busty Asian for no particular reason.
The Western Shore is under attack and you're not sending any sisters to deal with it.
The West is always under attack, usually from itself.
She's a beautiful busty Asian woman who doesn't want to get involved in foreign wars. If she's strong on gun rights and wants to close the border, she's my pick for vice president. Leandrin continues to needle her about the Amerlin's absence, so she then looks directly at the camera and says that Sofia Canedo was busy filming Death of the Nile during principal photography of season 2, so they could only get her for filming for episodes 6 and 7 of this season. I also don't think that Leandrin gets secret conspiracy plots. The point of a secret conspiracy plot is to keep it a secret. So why would you hint to the Amerlin's most publicly loyal confidant that you have a secret conspiracy plot? Leanne is not the Brutus to your Cassius, Leandrin. Then OJ and Omar walk around, and Omar is very helpful in not explaining what a wolf brother is to OJ. Harry Potter casts as Patronus a ways back because a CGI stag wanders into view, and OJ figures out that basically he can communicate with wolves in his head. He then has a thought, and write this down because OJ doesn't have them very often. He asks Omar why Omar didn't warn anybody about the invading Sean Shan coming to fuck everybody up. And I want to know the answer to that question too. Between Lan not warning the two rivers of an invading Trolloc horde in the pilot, and Omar not warning another shitty village of a Sean Shan attack here, I'm starting to think the show wants me to hate the male mentor characters. Omar does not give anything approaching a satisfactory answer to OJ's question, but it's fine because OJ forgets about this line of questioning immediately because he has the attention span of a spoon.
Hey pal, you just blowing from Stupid Town?
That's not what a deer taken down by wolves looks like. OJ and Omar then sit down to have lunch, and what follows was one of the least shitty scenes this show has managed. Omar and OJ talk about wolf shit, and it's shockingly coherent. This scene was so passively done that I don't really even have much to bitch about it as a piece of regular television. So I'm now going to get a chance to bitch about the characterization and the casting compared to the book. First of all, Hopper is way too tiny. I would honestly rather have the CGI wolves from Twilight than have these little puppy dogs running around. The Wheel of Time is an American fantasy series. The wolves that Robert Jordan described were big-ass American gray wolves. You're talking about 150 pounds of lean, mean Trolloc killing machine. The wolves we have in this show are tiny little European red wolves that top out at about 80 pounds. They're half the size and they look it. Nobody is ever going to convince me that any of these guys are going to be able to kill Trollocs or White Cloaks. Even when they're biting people, they look ridiculous. This poor dog is having to max out its vertical just to get to the guy's arm.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Hopper also doesn't fit his description. He's supposed to be a scarred-up veteran of a lifetime spent living and fighting in the woods. The guy doesn't have a mark on him. I get that putting prosthetic makeup on dogs isn't a thing, but at least get me some CGI. Hopper looks and acts like a puppy dog. In the books, wolves may work with the Wolf brothers, but they're not subservient little bitches who wait at their master's feet. In fact, they're quite scornful toward dogs who do that. RJ borrows the Ben Franklin quote about those who would sacrifice liberty for freedom deserve neither liberty nor freedom when talking about the dogs in the wolves' heads. Omar informs AJ that Hopper likes him, and then Hopper jumps around revealing his true name. I'm kind of pissy about this. I love Hopper's fully non-abbreviated name, and it communicates that the wolves aren't dogs that people just slap a label onto and off they go. They're named after hyper-specific ideas that exist in nature. It's cool world building, and I'm mad it didn't make the show. We then get Simu Liu reading the poem that Moron Sedai bought off of Not Bail Doman so that Ragnor's boyfriend can coincidentally walk in and be suspicious of it. Women talk for a while, and then we find out that Simu Liu is upset that Moron Sedai hasn't put their bond back in place. Does anybody have the slightest idea of what's happening here? Can Moron put the bond back up if she wants to and is just being a withholding bitch? Or is the bond down until she becomes unshielded and she just hasn't told Lan? We also get the 1000th mention of the fact that Maxim is in a throuple, because this show will collapse into seizures and fits if they don't mention the fact every 60 seconds. Maxim then tells Lan that he can go back to Moron. Nobody in the show has bothered to ask the question of why the hell he would want to after she's been a complete bitch to him for the last 6 months. We then cut to said bitch who is interrogating the guards and asking about Rand. She's provided with zero helpful information. I'm glad we spent time with this.
Wow, what a waste.
Women talk for a while, and Natasha O'Keefe confirms that she's the best actress in the show by leaps and bounds. But also, I have no idea why she's telling all of this to Rand. I get that they have established a no-strings-attached relationship, but even when a dude is just fucking a girl, he really doesn't want to hear her wax poetically about a stud one of her previous lovers was. Is this a thing in the gay community? They cuddle? And I'm genuinely confused if Rand is supposed to be a little awkward and uncomfortable around Selene, or if Stradowski is just generally uncomfortable around women in general, and it's an acting problem. We get one of the weirdest non sequiturs I've seen on TV.
You want to go back there?
The whale never gives anyone what they want.
And then they kiss. We then get Matt for his contractually mandated single scene. He's getting his ass kicked in dice by Min. Matt has now gone 2 scenes losing to women in dice and is yet to win a role in this show. He doesn't have his hat, he doesn't get his quarterstaff scene, he's a lousy gambler, and he regularly abandons his friends in need. Would the real Matt Cawthon please stand up?
Have you seen this man?
It's the maniac!
I'm officially putting his face on the back of a milk carton. I don't know who this fake-ass Matt is, but I hate him. Min then goes to the bartender and orders a room where she plans to meet with somebody Leandrin has sent to her. Lenny Kravitz and the Crimson Chin then talk for what feels like hours until we finally get to the main point of the conversation. The Crimson Chin telling Lenny that Perrin and the Shinarans are captured. Women talk for a while, and Himan Hansu and Simo Lu talk while Maxim goes to get Alana and they investigate the letter that Rafe Judkin's boyfriend saw Lan putting in his bag. Moiraine Sedai and her sister then, you'll never guess, talk for forever. I cannot emphasize enough how little any person should care about these two people and their petty complaints. Moiraine has spent the entire season being a miserable bitch to Lan at every possible opportunity, and her sister's bitter complaint seems to be that at some point in her life she almost had to get a job. Keep in mind that when we're first introduced to her, she's been doing nothing to stop the Queen's plan of sending hundreds of people away for no reason whatsoever. These are both terrible people and they deserve each other. I hope Lanfear wins. About the only positive thing we get from this is that somebody finally verbally jabs back at Moiraine, and then it instantly gets ruined because apparently Moraine's sister knows where Rand and Selene went.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
How does she know this? Did Selene book her trip out to her forest resort cabin on the Kyrian equivalent of kayak.com? Women talk some more. Jesus Christ, I hate this show. When did the White Tower become the Gamma Phi Beta sorority house? Drink and gossip. It's so goddamn boring. Lenny Kravitz shows up and kicks Elaine out of her room. I'm sure thousands of obese land whales spurged out over Nynaeve flexing on Elaine like this, but it's just so damn rude and bitchy. Lenny informs Egwene that Perrin has been captured and they need to rescue him, so they sneak out into the secret tunnel established earlier in the season. Elaine follows them after eavesdropping and volunteers to help them, and then Leandrin stalks out of the shadow and kills them, because that's what happens to people who collide with stone walls at 50 miles an hour. But apparently none of them die from an obviously lethal bludgeoning. Then we get to Min, who is in the world of dreams, and the matchmaker from Mulan pulls her out of bed. We learn that Min was an abused child and sold to circus freaks because of her ability to see the future. Okay. Finally, Ishii shows up and Min freaks the fuck out upon discovering that she's agreed to work for a Forsaken, but ultimately signs off on the plan when Ishii offers to remove her powers if she will transport Matt to Kyrian. That's fine. You know, I didn't like Min as a character anyway. We finally get to Rand and Lanfear, who have apparently fallen asleep cuddling under the stars rather than in the perfectly warm house. I assume because this next fight scene needed to be shot in complete darkness, otherwise the audience would laugh hysterically. Rand wakes up and looks around, and a Fade sneaks up on him and doesn't try to kill him. Instead, it decides to go with a ridiculous overhead swing that allows Lanfear time to wake up and warn Rand, who dives out of the way. Or at least I assume he dives out of the way. It would be more accurate to say that the camera pans so that he's no longer in frame when the sword swing comes down, which in the show is basically the same thing. We watch what is functionally an entirely black screen as Rand is put on the back foot by the Fade. He then holds his sword out lightly in one hand so that the Fade can knock it away. Because of course he does. The Fade then freezes like Sony Vegas when I'm trying to video edit, which gives Rand an opportunity to use some fire magic to burn it away. Thank God for the Fade's desire to stop and growl menacingly every time they've almost achieved something. If not for that, all of the party would be dead in the first season, and Moiraine, Land, and Rand would be dead in the second season. These guys are truly the Dark One's elite warriors. Rand then stops to apologize to Lanfear for channeling while she gasses him up about being cool. He's so upset about channeling in front of her that he leaves his sword and sword belt on the ground outside of the house. He left his sword outside. You know, the gift he got from his father. Something that I guess he basically considers trash, which in fairness, after seeing him use it, makes more sense than I would want to admit. We then get more confirmation that Lan is stupid. Alana informs Rafe's boyfriend that Lan must not know what the Dark Prophecy is about. I assume because otherwise he would have rode to Moraine's side and attempted to help her, which means one of three possible things. Either Alana is wrong about Lan, And he does understand the prophecy and is just choosing not to help Moiraine because she's a bitch to him. Or he can read the prophecy, but he doesn't know it refers to Lanfear, something that Alana and Rafe's boyfriend figured out in about 2 seconds. Or he can't read, because Lan in the show has already proven perfectly adept at speaking and translating the Old Tongue.
I didn't know you knew the Old Tongue. It's what the last king of Manetheren said to his wife. Before the battle, they knew they'd lose.
Either way, the show paints Lan either as an unmotivated, disloyal lout or an idiot. I'll let you make your pick. Lanfear then ties Rand to the bed and starts loving on him. We then get the reveal that Selene was Lanfear the entire time. She starts to channel, assumedly to bond Rand, but it's fine because Moiraine has stuck in and stabs Lanfear through the heart with the sword that Rand left on the ground outside.
You're a monster!
She then slits Lanfear's throat.
You're horrible! You're an irredeemable monster!
Rand is obviously understandably upset that this bitchy woman has killed the woman that was about to fuck him, but rather than kill Moiraine like he did the Fade, he decides to blast her against the wall so he can choke her himself.
No. Like, a big sweaty fireman carries you out of a burning building, lays you on the sidewalk, and you think, yeah, okay, he's gonna give me mouth to mouth. But instead, he just starts choking the shit out of you.
Despite his best efforts to choke her, Moiraine delivers all of her lines perfectly unbothered.
I'm lying to you, which I never can.
But it's not you, it's your weak womany hands.
They're not.
It's like being choked by a child, which I thought would be hot.
Normally I would get on the director about this, but honestly...
But I know you're not capable of anything better, so that's why I've been so nice to you.
This is just embarrassing for everybody involved. This is supposed to be a serious production. Moiraine then tells Rand that Selene is Lanfear and that they need to run. He believes her with no further questions, and then they sprint out of there. We see Saw in Lanfear's eyes, and they open back up, indicating that the Dark One has healed her. I have so many questions. Even putting aside that Moiraine has a GPS and was able to find this cabin way out in the wilderness, how did Moiraine know that the Forsaken are immortal?
Stop asking questions!
Let's pretend that she did know that Forsaken were immortal. Surely it's worth chopping her head off and testing out whether this stuff is Highlander-type magic. Why wouldn't you take her head and try and burn the body? Surely it will take the Dark One a minute to spawn her a torso.
Stop asking questions!
But instead she just runs away. As an adaptation, I don't know where to begin. Elias is a complete asshole who couldn't be bothered to get off his ass to warn the Shinarans that the Shanshan were coming. Lan can't read. Matt is unrecognizable. Min is unrecognizable. Hopper is unrecognizable. Rand is useless with his sword and doesn't care enough about his father's blade to pick it up off the ground. He's also yet to take an active part in his own story. Also, the Forsaken are now immortal vampires. Did I miss anything? As a TV show independent of the adaptation, the generic formula of people just talking for 55 minutes and then delivering an underwhelming fight scene at the end really needs to go away. Also, this show could not do a worse job of showing the world of dreams if it tried. Normies have to be entirely lost by what the fuck is going on in this show. If you're not the sort of person who actively jerks off to ESG metrics, I'm not even sure what this offers. As always, thank you everybody for listening and watching. It means a lot to everybody at the White Cloaks.